What is scheduling in production planning? This is a really interesting topic because I'm going to use a macro level Takt plan to describe it. There are two different words here, schedule and a production plan. Now there are different permutations to this, but based on the work by Todd Zabel in the book Built to Fail, he talks about a schedule being literally the wish list or the demand side of the equation. And a production plan is the merging of the demand and the supply, but a simulation of what's possible in line with the demand, meaning you have an overall healthy plan. So how do you loop in scheduling the demand side of the equation into the supply world, meaning what's possible? Here is the answer. Early on, in let's say conceptual or concept design, schematic design, you create a macro level Takt plan. Now that can be with wagons, it can be summaries, or it can be what we call a macro phase sketch. So it could just be a sketch. The bottom line is we simulate the slowest speed, the normal speed, and your backup fastest speed, and we take a look at the overall project and we find strategies. Here's the key. Find strategies to simulate production within the parameters that we're given that take care of the demand, take care of the client. And so what I'm going to do on my computer is show you a real example of this macro phase sketching and how we're merging those two worlds together so that you have your schedule for the owner, but you also have a production plan that fits between the milestones. So I'm going to show you all that right now with a real example. Stay with us. Okay, everybody, as promised, I'm here and I'm going to show you an example of how we did this at Lean Built. Again, I'm super excited to share this with you because I just think this is such a cool, I would call it art form. I really think this is an art form. Like being able to show what your overall strategic plan is and the different options. You can see this purple. This is what we call the macro. The macro is the production promise. This is typically your mid-range, most reasonable promised speed. You can calculate this on the Takt calculator that we have in our templates. Please just reach out if you ever need that. But basically, when you're doing your contract, this is the speed that you can promise. And then over here, you can see what happens if we zone the project properly, what our production target would be. And then we also have a backup over here. The backup says, if you get into trouble, we can speed it up even further. This right here, the macro level Takt plan is based on 5,000 square foot zone size on a 3-day Takt time. Our norm level target right over here is based on a 4,000 square foot zone size on a 2-day Takt time. And then the backup would be that we could actually go down to like 2,500, 3,000 square foot zone size on a 1-day Takt time. Here's the difference. Here's what I want to talk about. This right here is your schedule. This is what you are promising to the owner based on when you're able to start the actual work. So this overall duration, this is the demand side of the equation. Okay. Then this target down here, which is your production target, is a simulation of how fast the trades can actually go based on production principles without hurting people. And it will also tell you how many buffers you have at the end to absorb delays and things like that. And then the backup here is in case we ever do get in trouble, we're able to rezone and not actually hurt people. So I really love the art of doing this. This is, to me, the epitome of merging the supply and demand, the schedule versus the production plan equations here. And I love this. People like Todd Zabel talk about this. There are other influencers in the industry, and I love all of them, but this is actually a picture of it. So let me just go ahead and be clear. I can actually have a little bit of fun over here with Miro and have some dots here. So this is our promise from a contractual standpoint. This is our target. Between those two, we have buffers to absorb delays. If we get into trouble, we can actually zone it again and go even faster. And so that's purple, orange, or yellow, and then the blue. This allows us to analyze, especially with developers analyzing their pro forma, whether or not this project is going to be profitable. And I'll tell you why. Because when you analyze it, or when anybody analyzes it with these awesome tools, we're also able to simulate when we have your general conditions, meaning your staff and your insurance and bonds, and your general requirements, which would also be your logistics, your trailer, your fence, things like that, right? So some people call them just GCs or GRs. I'm talking GCs and GRs. And you can see down here at at the bottom that we can anticipate financially, not just when money will be spent, but how much it will cost based on the different durations. So our promise here, the schedule dictates that we're done by this time. Our production has simulated that we can get that done with some buffers and that we have a backup over here. We calculate the overall total cost. We know that we're under budget. We're ready to go. And we've now merged the supply and demand worlds. Now, when you don't do this kind of analysis, then you can get yourself into trouble because let's say, for instance, and I'm just going to do a couple of scenarios here just real quick. Please bear with me. Let's say, for instance, that this is the owner's target date right here, but that when we did the actual promise, let's say that it actually filtered over here and was passed, right? Then we know we have some work to do from a zoning standpoint. What if the norm did the same thing and it didn't finish on time when we needed it and it finished right on time without any buffers? We know that that's not going to work. So we know that we have different tasks to accomplish here in this analysis to make sure that we're covered. But let me go ahead and do one thing here that I think will be really cool. And I'm going to do some sticky madness here. So step number one is we need to put in, I would actually say your promise, which is the deal that you're actually setting with the developer. When do you have to finish? Then simulate your target, meaning the production rhythm that you can actually achieve. And then third, make sure that you have buffers in the system. And if everything works out 100%, you know you have a deal. And so this kind of analysis is what I would recommend everybody do on their projects to make sure that we're whole and complete and that we're signing up for a good deal. We can meet the schedule, but we also know that we can meet it from a production standpoint. And then what we did at the end of this was basically say, okay, site prep, building 1, 2, 3. These are the target dates. The developer can now go enter that into their spreadsheets, verify their pro forma, or if it's not a developer-driven job, make sure that they're within budget and that we're good to go. But the bottom line is, and I'll summarize it with this, you have to make sure that your trades can actually produce according to the demand of your client. And we do that by simulating, and we actually accelerate and fit it within that overall deadline by zoning it properly. Because the smaller your zone size, the faster you'll go, and you don't hurt trade partners. What I'm going to do is add these images to the description below, turn this into a blog post for you, and give you our contact information so you can reach out if you ever want to know more. But the bottom line is, this is a remarkable process, and it's the key to doing what you're wanting to do, and that is make sure that you are matching your schedule with the production plan in construction. I hope you've enjoyed this video. On we go.